goal to beat, a shot to beat him. But I think in domestic football he's been absolutely outstanding.
We saw this game, Charlie, didn't we? He was the difference in the end between Rangers and Celtic, wasn't he?
Yeah, McCoy's got the headline with the goal, but there was no denying it. Gorham that night was fantastic. He had 2 magnificent saves. And then just a couple of weeks later, he denied Celtic again in league duty. He seems to be wearing these strange bandages in his knees. And everybody keeps thinking that he's not particularly mobile because he wears these, but the saves this guy's making is quite extraordinary.
You mentioned it on the night, didn't you, that maybe the knees weren't so good, but there was no sign of it, was there? He was climbing and snatching everything out of the air.
The only thing I see a little different from him that he's not doing as much is possibly coming for the cross balls. But when, I know Goff isn't playing tonight, when his defence is doing what they've been doing all season, he doesn't have to. But his saves that's kept Rangers in games has been so important.
Nice to know he's behind you, isn't it?
Yeah, he's one of the best shot stoppers you see, you know. He's not the biggest, but, you know, he spreads himself well. He's got a good pair of hands. And there'd be a lot of onus on him tonight without Richard Goff.
At the other end, of course, Michael Watt, who's keeping Theo Schnelders out of the side right now. He's had nightmares against Rangers in the past, Charlie.
Yeah.
Will that be on his mind tonight?
Maybe not, with Hateley not playing. Hateley's been crucifying this guy for the last few seasons. I think young Michael's problem was that he was always coming in for 2 or 3 games when Schnelders was injured. And then he was back out of the team, no matter how his form was going. So now he's got a few games under his belt, and his confidence must be growing. He's not always been the most confident of goalkeepers, probably because he's not always in the side, but I expect this guy to go on and stabilise his position. But all round, a comfortable goalkeeper, an under-21 international, so he's been about.
And for a keeper, young, 24 is no age at all, is it?
No, it's young for a keeper, that's right, and I think not so much pressure on him tonight. I would expect people like Ingalls and Smith in the central defensive roles to really help the kid out and really get him through this game.
And if Aberdeen are doing what Ray Aitken says they will, which is attacking, maybe there won't be too much necessity for their keeper this
You'll be hoping for that, that's for sure.
That's Michael Watt, who keeps goal for Aberdeen tonight on what was earlier a very wet Hampden Park. But is it still raining? We can find out in a moment or so when we join Davy Probin, who can give us all the team news. Davy, is it still wet?
Well, thankfully the rain is off now, Richard. The main worry here about an hour ago was whether or not the drainage here at the National Stadium would cope with the rain that has fallen all day here in Glasgow. We have the teams, and 2 very attacking teams they appear to be. Roy Aitken, of course, considers that the strength of his side lies from midfield forward, and there's no doubt that he will have a real go tonight at a Rangers side that is seriously depleted by injuries. Let's then have a look at that Rangers side tonight. Before Saturday, of course, Walter Smith had already been without Charlie Miller, Brian Laudrup, and he lost Stuart McCall in the match against Juventus in Turin. Well, there was more bad news to follow on Saturday in the match against Hearts, because he was to lose David Robertson and Richard Goff. Robertson with a hamstring, Goff with a groin strain. Now the changes in that Rangers side: Stephen Wright will come in and play at right back. Ali McCoist, as you can see, will partner Oleg Salenko up front, and John Brown, the veteran Rangers player, of course he can play in either midfield or at the back. Out of the Rangers side, let's just confirm that: Richard Goff and David Robertson. The other change to Saturday's side, Alexei Mikhailichenko, who is on the bench tonight. Let's move on then to the Aberdeen side, and better news for them, because Roy Aitken just about able to field what he would consider to be a full-strength side. Fullback Colin Woodthorpe, of course, is out for 6 weeks. He broke a bone in his foot against Motherwell a fortnight ago. But that apart, all the news is good. And the most significant news for the Aberdeen supporters is that the Premier League's top scorer, Scott Booth, is back. And that means demotion for Duncan Shearer. He starts the match on the bench tonight. Now, Paul Bernard came into the Aberdeen side. He started a match for the first time against Partick Thistle on Saturday. He had to be reasonably patient before that, but he did get a start on Saturday, and he also managed to grab a goal. And Roy Aitken will look for him and Paul Bernard to be significant players for his side tonight. Well, they're the sides that will go head-to-head here at the National Stadium tonight, Richard. The prize for the winners, of course, a place in the Coca-Cola Cup final on November the 26th against either Dundee or Airdrie. For the moment, though, back to you.
Yes, Davey, thank you. That other semi tomorrow night. Reminder that this goes all the way this evening, extra time, and if we require them, then there will be penalties as well. But McCoist plays for Rangers. That's a real boost for them, and this is how much the bookies value him. He's favourite to get the opener tonight at 4-1. Salenko, his strike partner, 5-1. Dury, who's been in really good form of late, 6-1. Scott Booth of Aberdeen, 7-1. And Paul Gascoigne there, 8-1. Ian Jess at 12-1. I always like to look further back. Right of Rangers, 50-1. And Stuart McKimmie of Aberdeen at 80-1 there. Paul Gascoigne back at the weekend. Rangers got 4 against Hearts. Has he settled up there now, Charlie?
Yes, he has. I think when he first came back into the Rangers side after his first injury early in the season, I think it took him maybe 3 or 4 matches to really get his sharpness. I think gradually the victories against Celtic certainly helped him. When he scores a score, I mean, he's not even in the picture. He's no right to get this for a guy who's, I think, obviously been struggling to the start of the season with fitness, but he makes up tremendous ground. And that's the day that Rangers fans really confirmed he was going to be one of the real favourites. And since then, he's played particularly well. This was a good goal here. But in that game in particular, I think Gascoigne was outstanding against Motherwell that night, and I think he really showed his class.
You've done it, Nigel, an Englishman moving into Glasgow. What difficulties are you confronted with?
Well, I wasn't a high-profile player like Paul Gascoigne is. I think he's going to have problems off the park wherever he goes because the media want to know what he's doing every minute of the day. A bit like Charlie when he came down to London, when he was at Arsenal. But I think...
the difference was they could never find him, so it didn't matter so much to him.
But the thing is, for Paul, he's such a talented player, they just want him to do it on the park. They don't care what he does off the park, and I think that's the thing with Scottish people. They just want you to perform on the park. They don't care about your private life or anything. And I think Paul will go up there, do his best on the park, and hopefully stay there for a few seasons, win a few trophies, and go down as one of the best players to come out of England to play in Scotland.
You enjoyed it, didn't you?
I had a great time there. I mean, 3 successful years there. It's nothing better than playing for a club that's winning trophies and competing in like semi-finals of cups, finals of cups. And I think Paul, you know, tonight will be wanting to play very well to get into his first cup final.
Let's have a look at Ian Jess. Midfield this season, Charlie.
Yep.
Is that a change that he's taken to comfortably enough?
Yes, he's taken it very well. I actually watched him very closely. In situations now, he's getting forward a lot easier. He always seems to be facing the goal rather than his back to goal, which he was facing last year. And through his own admission, he says early in the season that he'd struggled for the last 3 seasons, which is quite extraordinary when people are writing about this guy's potential. But he's thriving in this role. He's getting more time. He's starting to hit power shots, as we see here. I watched him against Motherwell in the quarter-finals, and he was simply outstanding. Every time he got the ball, he ran at people, and he's doing this a lot more often now. And he's certainly back to his best. Exciting player.
I mean, you'll know the difference, Nigel, won't you? Running at goal as opposed to playing with your back to it. It does...
I don't run anywhere, Richard. You should know that. I don't know where the goals are. But I think it's interesting in just playing in midfield. I mean, he's not the quickest player, but he's got a good footballing brain. He picks up the ball, runs into good areas. And I think at Aberdeen, they've got so many strikers. I think it was maybe the best thing for him was to move back into that role, and I think he's thriving on it.
You say they've got so many strikers. Scott Booth back in the side, the top scorer at Pittodrie this season. Would he be Scotland's first choice striker right now, Charlie?
At the moment, yes. I think Craig Brown has already says Scott Booth and McCoyce is really would be his ideal partnership when they're fit. But this kid is when I was playing at Aberdeen, the Booth and Jess were coming through the ranks, and Jess was the one they were all talking about. He's got a little bit more flair than Booth. But young Scott Booth loves scoring goals, and he does it ever so well. And the beauty of Scott Booth now is that Aberdeen rely so much on him, and that shows how much mark he's made in that team.
One of the reasons that they had such an indifferent season last time round, because he was injured so often in the last campaign.
Yeah, well, they certainly missed him, although Duncan Shearer, to be honest, has been scoring a lot of goals when he's been playing. But they certainly missed this guy. I think that he just gives them that, as Roy said earlier, a little bit of extra pace up front. He's prepared to always take the gamble near post runs, which you don't really see so much of now from a striker. This guy's prepared to do these near post runs, and he gets a lot of goals from that.
Well, there has to be a winner tonight, one way or the other. The other semi tomorrow night, of course. But who is going to the Coca-Cola Cup final, Nigel?
There's only one choice for me. I've got to go for Rangers. I think...
How, then?
How?
90 minutes? Extra time?
Yes,
penalties?
I think it'll be over in 90 minutes. I think most probably Super Ali will pop up with a goal to make sure Rangers go through.
He usually does, doesn't he? Charlie?
Yep. I think if Aberdeen score first, they'll go on and win it. but my head keeps telling me Rangers, unfortunately. But I think we're going to see a lot of goals here.
But that's how important the first goal is. You think if Aberdeen get it, they can win?
So. Yes, I think so. I said the same about Celtic and Rangers. First to score would win. But I think Aberdeen must go first because defensively, Rangers are the strongest, even without Gough.
Live football tonight from Sky Sports. Once again, Hampden Park, which happily has tried somewhat after a real battering today. Rangers against Aberdeen comes up next, live.